We have the recording on.
Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. First, we offer our salutations to Lady Zainab Salamullah alayha, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate her position and enable us to benefit from her shafa, inshallah. The sixth point that the late Ayatollah Shujai mentions for second level of muraqabah is Fikr. Fikr can be translated as thinking, but maybe thinking is more appropriate for Fikr in mantiq. In mantiq, Fikr is a movement of the mind. Logicians say, Al-fikru harakatu dhihn min al-muradi ila al-mabadi wa min al-mabadi ila al-muradi. So, from what you want to prove, your mind starts a journey going back to your information. Find which information is available that can be used as a kind of hujjah or mu'arrif for reaching your tasawwur or tasdeeq that you want to establish. And then either you form had and ta'rif definition for tasawwurat or hujjat and istidlal reasoning for tasdeeqat. This is called fikr. So fikr is more in logic a movement of mind from what is the question, what wants to be established, to the information, knowledge that we have, and then going back. But for logicians, for example, if you contemplate on something that you already know, it's not called fikr. Yeah, it's not fikr. For the fikr, it's always to come to something new. Fikr that we say here can be thinking, but maybe it's more a matter of reflection, a matter of contemplation, sometimes meditation. Basically, fikr means a kind of a spiritual journey that involves mind and heart. If mind is not there, it's not fikr. If heart is not there, again, it's not fikr for mystics and spiritual people. So it's a kind of intellectual at the same time spiritual exercise, and it is one of the types of zikr. Fikr is certainly one type of dhikr because it's spiritual. So Ayatollah Shujai starts, this was my introduction. Ayatollah Shujai starts with this important ayah of the Quran that in the book Self-Knowledge also we had this. Surah Ma'idah verse 105. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا عليكم أنفسكم لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that all those who believe, be concerned about yourselves. Every person about his own soul, his own spirit. If you are guided, those who have gone astray are not going to harm you. So first make sure that you are on the right path, you are on the right track. Of course, we have lots of social responsibilities. In self-knowledge, I have explained this, that this would not conflict with having social responsibilities. But even social responsibilities should be done with self-awareness, self-consciousness. If I do something in society as a way of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a way of remembrance, then that is good. But if I forget myself and become too much involved in campaigns or political activities, etc., then this is not going to benefit. Sooner or later, I myself become a problem for others. Because you fight a tyrant, but you have potential to become yourself another tyrant. So it's very important that people look after their own piety first. خب. Now, after this ayah, Ayatollah Shuja, says, Fikr is one of the pillars, arkan, one of the pillars of wayfaring and a condition for this path. In the Quran and Hadith, we have lots of emphasis on Fikr. And he says the tone of the Quran and Hadith about Fikr is that without Fikr, we cannot be successful in our spiritual journey. Those who don't think, those who don't reflect, they are not expected to succeed. But Fikr has to be with proper attitude. Not that, just a wild, motion of the mind, thinking about different things, jumping from one topic to another topic, no focus, no point, no conclusion, no assessment. This is not what we mean by Fikr. This is not Fikr. It's like a study. Some people go to Hose for a study. Some people go to Hose just enjoy being in the atmosphere of Hose, which is great atmosphere there, but they don't study properly. One day they go to this lesson, tomorrow to another lesson. One day they say, okay, we don't go to lesson, we just go for ziyarah. Another day, say, okay, let's go to Mashhad. Next week, they go to Karbala. Okay, these are great things, but this is not a study. A study has its own method. It needs commitment, it needs regularity, it needs punctuality. It needs to be under directorship of great scholars. It's not just browsing Hose, surfing Hose. No. So Fikr is to be very organized and very much directed. Fikr can help the wayfarer in suluk ubudi, number one, in the path towards servitude. Fikr, proper Fikr, can make the path clearer. Proper Fikr can make the journey faster and more complete. So it's very important. But it's not only one thing that we should reflect or we should contemplate. What you can think about is not just one thing. There are many. There are like many fields, you can say, many paths that you can reflect. مولوی says هرچه بینی در جهان از آیتی هست بهر معنی و حکمتی. Whatever you see in this world as sign has a meaning and there is wisdom behind everything. So there's a wide range of things that we can think about, but with proper attitude, approach. Before we go to what are good topics, good subject to think about, first let us say what we should not think about. Of course, we are not now to tell, we shouldn't think about, for example, sinful things. We should not think about, for example, greediness and, attraction of dunya, etc. These are obvious. No, we don't need to talk about this. But even things that someone who is interested in ma'rifah may, make mistake about is thinking about essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we shouldn't think about. We will talk about what we should think about, but first it's better and easier also to mention one particular thing that we should not try to think about it, in the sense that we should try to capture it or grasp it, to understand it. And that is the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has essence, Allah has attributes, and has acts. In Risalatul Wilaya we talked about it. We also talked about the difference between Urafa and Mutakallimin in the way they approach Tawhid Zati and Tawhid Wasfi and Tawhid Af'ali. I don't repeat those things, but I'm just saying that the maximum we can know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to know Him through His attributes. We can certainly know Him through His actions. We can know Him through His attributes, but we can never know Him as His essence. Why? Because whatever you know has to be somehow under your grasp, under your sight, under your knowledge. Allah's essence is nothing that you can define, nothing that you can limit, nothing yet that you can contain, nothing that you can embrace and have ihata, as in Surah Taha says that we cannot have ihata of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is very beautiful ayah in Surah Taha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah 110, يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُم. Allah knows what is before them and what is behind them. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِهِ عِلْمًا. But they don't embrace Him or encompass Him in knowledge. So, to know something means you have to be able to embrace it. You have to be able to define it. There must be a limit for it. Allah is limitless. His essence is limitless. Has no ta'ayyun, has no particularity. Even Allama Tabatabai says, inshallah I will read for you from the book. Allama Tabatabai in Risalaya Tawheed, he says that Allah has no ta'ayyun, and even this sentence cannot be taken as a ta'ayyun for Him. To say He is the one who has no ta'ayyun. No, even this should not be said. When we say Allah is wujud mutlaq in philosophy, we say Allah is absolute being. Yes, Allah is absolute being, but without taking absolute as a modifier, as a limit for Him. Those of you who have studied philosophy and usul, you know that we have la bishart qismi and la bishart maqsami. Illa bishart Maqsami, even la bishartiya is not there. In la bishart qismi, it's there. Itlaq is a condition. So sometimes, for example, I say Zayd, Amr, Bakr, these are finite beings. Yeah, these are mutanahi, these are finite, limited beings. Also, objects around me, computer, desk, books, pen, these are finite beings. Firishtagan, angels, malaika, in different languages, we have different terms. They are also finite beings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is infinite being. But when you say he is infinite being, don't think that infinite is a limit for him. They have different limits, and Allah has also limit, but his limit is that he is limitless. No, he has no limit. And therefore, he can also be with these finite beings because they are not separate from him. He is everywhere, in everything, without being part of them, without being limited by them. Ayatollah Shujai quotes from the third chapter, Fasl Sevom, the third chapter of Rationality Tawheed. Allama Tabatabai Rizwanullah alayh, when he was in Tabriz, after studying in Najaf, he went back to Tabriz and then he moved to Qom. When he was in Tabriz, he had to look after family farm because for many years they were away with his brother and parents had passed away. So he did great job in reviving and with a beautiful design their farm, plus looking after financial needs of himself, his brother, their families, and still he was very much into spirituality and writing books. Maybe he didn't have that much opportunity to teach, but he was writing some important books that contributed later to compiling Al-Mizan. When Allama started compiling Al-Mizan, it's not that he started to learn all those things at that point. He had many of the things ready before. The ingredients, many of them were ready from before. One of the things he wrote about was about Tawheed. Tawheed is very important for philosophers, for theologians, for mystics. Ayatollah Shujai says, when I had tawfiq to benefit from Allama's lectures, I took Allama's copy, which was his own handwriting, with his own hand, his own manuscript written by Allama's hand. He said, I borrowed and wrote myself based on his handwriting. It's a great barakah. I think in one of lectures I mentioned, maybe it was in Adab al-Muta'allimin. There is great barakah if you write with your own hand the book that you study. It goes very deep to your soul. In the third chapter of Rasaliyya Tawheed, Allama Rahmatullah alayhi writes as follows: وحيث إن الوجود الواجبي صرف فهو غير محدود. Since necessary being is صرف, محض, بحت, مطلق, means simple, without limit. فهو غير محدود. Allah is not defined, is not limited. فهو أرفع من كل تعين اسمي ووصفي. So Allah is higher than any ta'ayyun, any particularity, whether it is about ism, name, or about wasf, attribute. وَكُلِّ تَقْيِيدٍ مَفْهُومِي. He is also above any conceptual restriction. You cannot use any concept to define him. حتى من نفس هذا الحكم. Even what we said should not be taken as a limit for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because people who are used, we human beings are used to finite things. Even when we say something is infinite, we think this is a limit. But when we say he is infinite, means he's not limited, and therefore he can be with all other levels without them being with him. This is something which is also amazing in the Quran, that although philosophers say that Allah is at the top of the pyramid of existence or hierarchy of existence, but Allah is everywhere, and Allah is directly able to communicate to all his creatures. فلهذه الحقيقة المقدسة, for this sacred or pure or holy reality, wajib al-wujud, for this holy or pure or sacred reality, إطلاق بالنسبة إلى كل تعين مفروض. Allah is free from any limit that you suppose, any modification. Even it's free from this sentence. This is what Allah says. So when we say the level of essence or martabi zat, marhali zat, maqam zat, and they have different terms for this. They say, for example, some people say, anqa, it's a bird which is not, easily able to be found. Or, for example, they say هویت غیبیه, they say غیب الغیوب. They have different terms to refer to Zat Ilahi, to his essence, but we have to know that none of them captures essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no place, no limit, no boundaries, how you can understand or how you can point at? Even by your aql, you cannot do ishara, you cannot point at him. There's no way. Abdul Rahman al-Jami, one of Urafa, in his book Al-Lawa'ih, in La'iha 22, he says, موجود حقیقی یکی بیش نیست. Real being, true being is only one. و آن عین وجود حق و هستی مطلق است. And that is the same as existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the absolute truth. And it has different levels. The first level, the top, the highest, is مرتبه لا تعین و عدم انحصار. There is no limit, no boundaries, nothing. Even concepts cannot, limit that realm. Then Ayatollah Shoja'i says something very interesting. Of course, let me say another sentence of Jami, and then we go to explanation. It's a paragraph. I go to the last sentence also. I've said the first one. He says, قایت نشان از او بی نشان است. The ultimate sign for God is that he has no signs. As long as you are dealing with signs, you have not reached there. And when you reach there, there is no sign. نهایت عرفان وی حیرانی. The ultimate ma'rifah of Allah is when you become perplexed. Because if Allah was possible to be understood by our aql, then he was not absolutely perfect. He's beyond our understanding. But in barakats, this is different from saying things about God which are not correct or which are not according to aql. We don't have anything against aql. It's not that we are contradicting aql. We just say aql has a limit. There are things that aql cannot understand. Not that there are things that aql understand differently, and we say to aql, we don't trust you, we don't bother about you, or this is a mystery. No, we don't have anything against aql, but we have things above aql. We have things also next to aql that aql doesn't understand. For example, does aql understand the taste of ice cream, the taste of rose water? Aql doesn't understand such things because these are things to understand through senses. It's not that aql says something about taste that we contradict. No, aql is silent. So there are things at the level of aql or lower than aql that aql cannot understand. There are things above aql that aql cannot understand, but we never contradict aql in what it says. Aql is very humble. When aql doesn't understand, says, I don't have any judgment. Doesn't say, wrong things. And this is why it's hujjah. When we really get there, you become mutahayyir. Mutahayyir means perplexed. It doesn't mean confused. No, you become perplexed. There's too much. It's overwhelming. Therefore, ulama say, based on our hadith, that you shouldn't try to think about essence of God. You can be even going astray if you are not qualified and you are not careful. You can develop wrong ideas, or you may even lose your faith because you may develop some shubahat, some questions that you are not able to handle. So we should not think about God's essence. This is one thing that we warn at the beginning, that when we say you should think, you shouldn't think about this. Ayatollah Shuja'i says, this is very beautiful. اگر مخلوق بخواهد به سوی او عروج کند. If the creature wants to rise or ascend towards او, in quotation mark, او means he. If the creature wants to ascend towards him and reach him, نهایت عروج و منتهای سفرش به فناء در وجه او، یعنی فناء در اسماء او که تجلیات ذاتی غیبی و متأخر از ذات است می انجامد و راهی به مقام ذات ندارد. The maximum that you can rise when you want to ascend towards him, the maximum is to reach fana fil asma illahiyya. You will be annihilated in his names, like Rahman, Rahim, Kareem, Alim, Qadir, Hay, Murid. This is the maximum you can reach, and if you reach there, you disappear. It's fana. Then you remain with him, but by losing your shell. So by the time you reach there, you are finished. Then who is going to go further to the essence? There is no way to reach the essence. احدیت آخرین منزل برای واصلان است. To reach the level that you understand ahadiyat. Allah is the one for whom no second can be thought. Then he quotes a hadith from Imam Reza alayhi salam. You know, Imam Reza alayhi salam has a very important hadith about ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Kitab al-Tawheed, Sheikh al-Saduq Rizwanullah alayhi, in the section on at-Tawheed wa Nafy tashbih, it's about Tawheed wa Nafy tashbih. Alhamdulillah, we followers of the school of Ahlul Bayt, we are very committed to Tawheed, and we are very much, appreciating Tawheed. Some people think, na'udhu billah, na'udhu billah, na'udhu billah, that maybe the Shia are mushrik or, no. This is, maybe some uneducated people say something that can be misunderstood. But actually, more than any other school of Islam, we admire Tawheed, we think about Tawheed, we write about Tawheed, we do research about Tawheed. For us, Tawheed is root of the roots. I always say when I teach aqaid, Tawheed is not just one of the usul, one of the 3 usul of religion or 5 usul of mazhab. Tawheed is aslul usul. The principle of our nubuwwah goes back to Tawheed. Imamah goes back to adl, ma'ad, akhlaq. Everything goes back to Tawheed. In unity of God and unity in God. I have explained some of these things in our discussion with our Christian brothers and sisters about unity of God and unity in God. Tawheed is very important. Sheikh al-Saduq Rizwanullah alayhi has a beautiful collection of hadith on Tawheed. Many aqaidi issues are there. In that book, Imam Reza alayhi salam is quoted as saying part of his saying. His saying is more than this part of it. فَلَيْسَ اللَّهَ عَرَفَ مَنْ عَرَفَ بِالتَّشْبِيهِ ذَاتَهِ. The one who knows Allah through tashbih, by analogy, by comparing him and likening him to his creatures, has not known Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot liken Allah to anything. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. And وَلَا إِيَّاهُ وَحَّدَ مَنْ اقْتَنَهَهُ. The one who wants to reach kun and the core and the essence of Allah has not understood Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very beautiful saying. Ayatollah Shujai says, even if aql and ishq, it's very difficult to have both of them together, to be deeply rational and strongly spiritual. But we have to be. This is the school of Ahlul Bayt. Rationality, spirituality, and search for justice. This is what I think are 3 characteristics of school of Ahlul Bayt. Of course, not every Shia has these 3. And maybe non-Shia also have these 3. But in the school of Ahlul Bayt, you must have these 3. And the history of us also shows our leaders, our ma'sumin or non-ma'sumin, great leaders have tried to combine rationality with spirituality and search for justice. But even if you are rational and spiritual, even your aql and ishq, intellect and love, are functioning very well, still you cannot reach the essence of Allah. It's beyond access, beyond your reach. Hafiz has a beautiful poem here. Hafiz has lots of mystical poems. He says, سحرگاهان که مخمور شبانه گرفتم باده با چنگ و چغانه نهادم عقل را ره توشه از می به شهر هستیش کردم روانه نگار می فروشم اشوه‌ای داد که ایمن گشتم از مکر زمانه. In Sahar before Fajr, I had the wine of love, and I gave this wine of love to my aql, and my aql, fell in love. So you have love and aql together. And I was so relaxed from worries of dunya that he says, Iman gashtam az makr zamane. I felt very safe. I felt no worries could come to me. But ز ساقی کمان ابرو شنیدم که ای تیر ملامت را نشانه. From the one who was serving wine, Saqi, the one who was serving wine, whose eyebrow was like kaman, like a curve, means very beautiful. That the one who has become the target for the blames. نبندی زان میان طرفی کمروار اگر خود را بینی در میانه. As long as you can see yourself, you are not able to benefit. برو این دام بر مرغ دگر نه که عنقا را بلند است آشیانه. You want to trap this bird. No, you can trap another bird. But anqa, as I said, is the bird which is normally not coming close to people or to cities, which is used to refer to essence of God. You cannot put trap for anqa because he makes his nest too high above the mountain, high mountains. Basically, it means that you cannot trap the essence of Allah by your own terms. You need to enter into a new realm. He says, Ahl dua, people of dua, when they make dua. Ahl ibadat dar maqam ibadat, worshippers when they make worship. So those who make dua when they make dua, worshippers when they make ibadah. Ahl dhikr dar maqam dhikr, people who invocate Allah when they are invocating Allah. Arbab suluk dar maqam suluk, people of wayfaring in the context of wayfaring. Arbab hawaij dar maqam su'al, those who have requests and they ask Allah for the request. All of them, what they do and can do is to talk to Allah or try to reach Allah in manifestations of His essence in the form of asma, His names and attributes, not essence. They cannot think of his essence. Inshallah, in the next session, we will then talk about those things that we should think about, we should contemplate about. We said first we mentioned something that we should not try to reflect too much. Now we will talk about things that we should reflect, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajal ajal. Thank you very much, Sheikh.
Thank you. May Allah bless you.
And
is there any question?
yes, I think there will be some questions. Sheikh Hassan, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
stimulating lesson. Reminded us of the philosophy classes we used to have. Okay, so I think I have two questions. The first one is, you obviously, you mentioned as well that, one of the areas, the bit that the book says, فکر عقل و وهم را به مقام ذات راهی نیست and فکر نامجاز. I would say, do not think about the essence of God. We have this, general kind of concept then in Aqaid about, the sifat and the attributes of God being the same as his essence.
Yeah.
The sermon of Amir al-Mu'minin as well. So how obviously thinking about the sifat is actually recommended, because through the sifat, you get to know him a bit more. So how do we kind of, what is the difference then? If the sifat are the same as his zat, how can we say think about the sifat and not the, how is that different? Number one. And number two, the question is, if we get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his attributes, and given that the reality of God is basit, so the beginning and the end, everything is the same, how can you know part of it then? So, because our interaction with the sifat and understanding of the sifat is limited, and people have different experiences of it, different understandings of it, and therefore they will have different experiences and understandings of God. How do we combine that with, not having kind of God not having a degree or a depth of something? I don't know whether I've been able to portray the specific issue well enough or not. If we say huwa al-awwal wal-akhir wal-zahir wal-batin, the beginning, the end is all the same as well, right? So how is this partly understanding God combined with the reality of God?
Yeah. So what we say in Aqaid and Kalam, we say in Tawheed Wasfi or Sifati, Tawheed with respect to attribute, we say that all the attributes are the same as each other and the same as essence in existence. The difference in concepts. So knowledge of God, power of God, life of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are not separate realities. They are all one reality. As our ulama say, ibaratuna shatta wa husnuka wahidu wa kullun ila dhaka al-jamali yushiru. We use different expressions, but your beauty is one. Everything is referring to that one. So names of Allah are the same as his essence, in the sense that there is one reality. You don't have too many realities. There's one reality. But that one reality is available to us through his manifestations. Sifat are manifestations of that essence. But if you don't approach it through manifestations, you don't understand anything. You have to use those manifestations. So that, like, if you want to look at the sun, you cannot, you become blind. You can take some radiations and reduce it, filter it, so that you can see. But you cannot, expose yourself to the core of the sun. Even when we say huwa al-awwal wal-akhir wal-zahir wal-batin, you have to know that huwa al-awwal, but at the same time he is not awwal. Huwa al-akhir, but he is not akhir at the same time. Because if you want to say huwa al-awwal in the sense that he is only awwal, it's a problem. Or you want to say I can define him by being awwal, it's wrong. So we have to say huwa al-awwalu wal-zahiru wal-batin, but still he is above all these things. He is none of these things. We cannot capture him with any of these things, or even with a combination of them. Even if you say, is Allah, for example, the same as 100 names? Say no. These 100 names are 100 manifestations, radiations. Allah is above all this. We can understand these 100 names to some extent. We can, reflect, we can, write commentary, but not about his essence.
Thank you, Sheikh.
May Allah bless you.
Okay, so I think those are the questions for today, and I think inshallah, if you're okay, we can end with dua.
Yes. And also, this is one reason why Rasulullah said, "Ma arafnaka haqqa ma'rifatik." Even Rasulullah says, "We have not known you in the way that it's suitable and you deserve." Rasulullah knows Allah a lot, but even Rasulullah admits that we have not known you haqqan. We don't have proper ma'rifah of you. Not in the sense that the late Imam Khomeini said, not in the sense that haqqa ma'rifati iyyak, not in the sense that I have not, or we have not known you as much as we were able to know and we were supposed to know. No, he did know Allah as much as he could, but still he knows that he is too little to know him as he knows himself, or as his reality deserves to be known.
Thank you, Sheikh. Very profound. And inshallah, I need to think about this after the lecture. Inshallah, we can end with dua if you're ready.
Sure. Inshallah. Every time we make dua, we make it with hope that inshallah, none of our du'as are inshallah missed. But every dua, inshallah, we hope should be a special dua, inshallah. So we should always be hopeful. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة في كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا وامن علينا برضاه وهب لنا رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه وخيره اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى وجنبنا عما لا تحب ولا ترضى. اللهم ارزقنا توفيق الطاعة وبعد المعصية وصدق النية وإرفعنا الحرمة وأكرمنا بالهدى والاستقامة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم اشف مرضانا، اللهم اشف مرضانا، اللهم اشف مرضانا، اللهم ارحم موتانا. اللهم اغفر لوالدينا ولوالدي والدينا ولمن وجب له حق علينا ولمن أوصانا بالدعاء ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات. اللهم اقض حوائجنا، اللهم يسر أمورنا، اللهم أنجح طلبتنا، اللهم أنجز مواعيدك لنا. اللهم اجعل عواقب أمورنا خيرا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. For your health, for your tawfiq, for faraj of upon zaman, we end with 3 salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. التماس دعاء في أمان الله.
التماس دعاء.
Thank you very much for that.
في أمان الله.
في أمان الله.